Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. All of us live our own convictions. We are so much convinced that I am the body. Nobody says I am body, but everybody lives as the body, for the body, on everybody. And this conviction is so firm, even if God comes and tells us, you cannot be this body, you are divine, we laugh at the God. Come on, too much. Therefore, meditation is that we have to change our wrong notions about ourselves without creating new notions. We are all leading a notional life. Our present notion is, I am good, I am bad. This is what happens in dharma, yoga, bhakti. This is what happens. In Dharma Shastra, earlier I used to drink, but now I don't drink. Earlier I used to keep awake very late at night. Now I sleep even in the satsang. So that definition of I, that alone is changing. I is maintained. Yoga, earlier I used to be very lazy. Now I am crazy. So changing the definition of I is not meditation. Because we are already carrying the burden of notions. So the first burden that we carry, that I am body, and then the next generation of burden is, after the body identification, I am husband, wife, brother, father, mother, sister. And this is so strongly embedded in our understanding that we are unable to drop it and go beyond. See? And this notion that we carry reflects as obsession in our life. We are all obsessed about everything, small little things. Suppose somebody obsessed with discipline, he will not be able to tolerate even this much of indiscipline. If somebody is obsessed with punctuality, he will not be able to tolerate 1 minute here and there. And as a result, we get lost in these bodies. Somebody is born. Therefore, meditation is correcting our wrong notions without creating new notions. Therefore, the first wrong notion because of which we all suffer is the body identification. Body is not the problem. I am body is also not the problem. But this body I am, that body I am not is the problem. Imagine electrical energy flowing through the bulbs. If that electrical energy has this notion, this bulb's light I am, that bulb's light I am not. See? Come subjectively. The mind expressing through the eyes as vision. The same mind expressing as hearing ability through the ears. And if the mind starts telling that what is coming out of the eyes as vision, that I am. But that what is coming out of the ears as hearing ability, that I am not. See, friends. Therefore, I am body is not the problem. But this body alone I am, other bodies I am not. From there, the problems begin in life. Therefore, the first step on the path of inquiry through meditation is freedom from body identification. First step. If that is not happening and whatever you are doing, it is on a wastage. Now the question comes, to whom to go and ask whether I am discovering freedom from body identification or not? You can't go and ask anybody because you are sitting quite by yourself. How do you know whether we are walking in the right direction? That there is no more body identification as the main issue of life. How do we know? So let us find out. Whenever we are identified with the body as now, what is the life that we are leading? Our life has basically two aspects. After body identification, one aspect is possession of things. Second aspect is relations with beings. So our interaction with the world is only on two fronts. One front is that of the things, other front is that of the beings. With the things we become possessive, with the beings we become relative. And these burdens of possessiveness and relationship creates somebody. See friends, so I am rich, I am poor, I have got a car, I don't have a car, I am educated, I am uneducated, possessions. Relations, I am mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, in-laws, outlaws. Relations. These two things, possessions and relations, they create somebody. And that somebody is not one. They are many. Be very attentive. So if I have become, let us say, a father, then this father will have his possessions. If I have become a brother, then the brother will have his possessions. If I have become a son, the son will have his possessions. And in this manner, each body will have his own lot of possessions. And the net result is, we are buried under the burden of so many possessions and relations. And when you sit for meditation, what will naturally happen? You are sitting as somebody. So you sit as a father for meditation. Your all thoughts will be about the son or the daughter. You sit for meditation as a husband. All the thoughts will be pertaining to your wife. And then we complain. Whenever I sit for meditation, there are too many thoughts. Therefore, when we understand these basics, then we will come to know that first of all, we have to get rid of body identification. And freedom from body identification means we are no more carrying the burden of possessions and relations. This we have to clearly understand. Therefore, a seeker should reduce his wants, his possessions. Empty yourself. See? You go in anybody's house. I get this opportunity to go in so many houses. You must have gone and suffered only in your house. I have gone and suffered in many houses. You walk into the wardrobe, walk-in wardrobes. How many things are there? Are they required? Keep on possessing. See, friend, the importance of emptying the possessions, I discovered what is the meaning. Word we understand, we read, we tell others, but it should have impact on us. This happened many years before. Earlier I was staying in some place, very small one, 10 by 10, one room. So my friend, he said, Swamiji, this is so small for you, I'll get a bigger flat for you. I said, okay, get it. He got a bigger flat. I said, now shift all my books, I am not going to do this job. So he packed in cartons. The only possession I have is books. See, put all of them in cartons, maybe about 15-20 cartons, this size, big size. And he shifted to the new house, kept in one room. He says, Swamiji, now opening you have to do because I don't know what books are what. I said, okay, I'll take care. Those cartons remain in that room for 3 years. Every time I go, I look at the mountain and I am disheartened. I don't think I can open now. I am busy. I got this thing, that thing. Finally, I could not open that. Because to open the whole thing and again rearrange, oh God. And every time that was the only thought in my mind. I had to open and do that and again rearrange. They are sitting somewhere. I am trotting the globe around. But the mind was carrying the burden of those books in Bombay. One day it just came to my mind. Then why not I donate these books to some library? So I called one of my librarian friends and I told him, I said, there are more than 1,000 books, rare books, good books. So I want to donate it to your library. Kindly come and collect from such and such place. I will not be there, but arrangements I have made. He took it and did the cataloging and sent me an email. Swamiji, we have done the cataloging, this is the list. When you come to India, kindly sign these papers so that it is good for our records. The moment I received that email, where was the burden? See friends, burden of possessions is not in the rooms, in the houses. Burden of possession is in the mind. For this, do one experiment. Here you have got pretty good houses. In one room, where you have put the whole world, remove everything from that room. Completely empty, only 4 walls. Nothing even on the wall is hanging. Completely empty. And in the center of the room, just keep one asana and sit quiet and experience yourself. The burden of all these possessions will slowly be emptied. Be very attentive. The habit of collecting things in the outer world doesn't remain outside. It goes inside. Inside it goes in terms of collecting memories. And therefore you will see the old people are constantly talking about their past. Because they have collected so many memories. See? One of my tragic experiences are when I go to somebody's house and there was some marriage, suppose, in that house, and I was not for the marriage. So they say, Swamiji, you didn't come for the marriage, but we have prepared an album for you and please see. That album is like a Mahabharata, huge one. As if for the first time somebody is married in the universe. And then I say, okay, I'll see that you kindly prepare my tea or coffee. No, I'll explain you. I said, what is there to explain in album? No, I'll tell you. I say, okay. Then I also start playing. When I open, oh, who is this lady? Looks like a kabutar. Swamiji, that is me. Oh, it looks very beautiful. See, friends, that album is like Al-Qaeda. Album. Don't get lost in possessions and relations. The next step. Possessions and relations are called as the personality. So what is the meditation therefore? Number 1, do not bring your past in the present. We don't have to talk about our past. When I was young, when I was there, no need. But Swamiji, are you not talking about your examples and all that? These are bluffs. I am not talking about myself. Now, second thing, if we have learned from our experiences of the past, that learning does not create an impression on the mind. When you learn from your experience, you grow wise. Because learning is a process of gathering wisdom. And wisdom is light. Impressions are heavy. See, now this is what we have to consciously practice when we are leading our day-to-day life, because what we are learning is meditation 24/7. Don't forget the main topic. I am not telling you half an hour meditation, rest of the day frustration. No. We have to lead our life in this extreme awareness. Now the next step. Once we have accepted ourselves to be someone other than the body and start working on it in our day-to-day activities, and when we sit in the morning for meditation, that time, whether you are doing asana or you are doing pranayam, the goal should be only one, that we are free from body identification. No other goal. Now the next step. Yesterday we have seen, with reference to asana, how this asana helps us getting rid of the body identification. Today we will take another yogic technique called as pranayam, and in this pranayam also helps us reduce our body identification. And this has to be done on a regular basis, morning, evening, at least 10 minutes or so. This will slowly loosen our grip on the body identification. See? For that, some basics about pranayam and physiology is essentially to be known. Now the first thing, we breathe 15 times per second, per minute, not per second, per minute. Therefore, in 24 hours, we breathe 200 and 1600 times per 24 hours. In this breathing process, we do not practice deep breathing. It is only surface level breathing. As a result, all the metabolic toxins which are accumulated in our bloodstream as a byproduct of metabolism in the gaseous form, they keep accumulating and our blood becomes saturated with those gaseous toxins. Now, gaseous toxins, by this I don't mean the emission of the gases that we do. We are not talking about that. Gaseous toxins are accumulated in the blood, and these gases are deposited in between the joints. See, two bones come together, there is a space, it's called as the joint, and in that joint there is a capsule, and there is some places cartilage in between the two bones as a buffering agent, and also the liquid oil called as the synovial fluid. These toxins keep on accumulating and start working on the heads of the bone and also on the cartilaginous disc and starts eating it away, because these are toxins. So heads of the bones are eroded, the cartilaginous disc is also destroyed, and the synovial fluid is dried up. But how do you know the gases have come here? When you break your joints, nothing is broken. Then what is that sound? Cut, cut, cut. The sound is that gas which has accumulated, it is released. It goes back again in the bloodstream. And therefore, when we practice pranayam on a proper basis, regular basis, every day, the possibility of joint pains in the old age will be minimum. Because we have never taken care of that. Now the second thing. If you take a banana, you are seeing here bananas kept outside for somebody to eat. That banana has got three things. One is the skin, which is thrown away. Second is the fruit, which is eaten. And between the skin and the fruit, there are threads, which are keeping the skin of the banana and the fruit banana together. Now be attentive. If the banana is not ripe enough, and if you want to peel it off, the peeling destroys either the skin or the fruit. But when the same banana is ripened away sufficiently, the skin comes out comfortably. In between those threads, they can be also seen separating out, and you can eat the banana without the threads and without the skin. If this example is clear, in the same manner, in the skin of mind is the fruit or the banana of body, and in between those threads are the prana, the breathing. Presently our understanding is the prana is inside and the mind is inside and I am inside. No, it is not like that. See friends, mind is holding the body, and the mind and the body are kept together by the glue of pranamaya kosha. When the prana leaves, the mind and the body are separated. This separation happens in three ways. One, under compulsion, called as death. Mind and the body are separated. Second thing, under ignorance, in deep sleep, where the mind and the body are separated. In third condition, in meditation, where the mind is separated from the body without attaining death or going to sleep. When this is achieved, then our experience will be the body-free experience. And this body-free experience, once you click it, once you get it, oh, this is what it is. Thereafter, like once you learn swimming, you never forget it. In the same manner, this experience remains with us. And with that experience, when we start living, we start leading a meditational life. If these points are clear, then the next theme comes that how do we do the pranayama? Now you all must be the victims of Ramdev Baba. So, out of so many pranayams, one or two things which are necessary to be known, and these are very simple. Number one, breathing we always do in the present. We cannot do breathing yesterday. You can't say, today I won't do breathing, tomorrow kar lenge yaar, aaj nahi. No. So, breathing is done always now and here. First. Now the second point is, instead of doing pranayam, let us observe the breathing. When you do pranayam, I is born. See, suppose I am a Sanskrit teacher and you are students and you have done a mistake. So I will punish you. What will be punishment? Okay, write down Bhagavad Gita 21 times. The whole Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit, not in Gujarati. Oh God, 21 times write down. Punishment. Suppose I am a yoga teacher and you do mistake. I will punish you. Do Anulom Vilom Pranayam 21,000 times. Oh God, so many times my nose will break into pieces. Has anybody ever said that I have been breathing and I am tired of breathing? Because breathing happens, pranayam is done. Whenever you do something, I is born. This I has to be dissolved. And therefore, instead of doing pranayam, what is necessary is, first of all, know these basics. Breathing happens, it is not done. Breathing happens in the utter present. Third thing, if we simply remain aware of breathing, you are not doing anything. This process will lead to what is ultimately required in pranayam is called as Keval Kumbhaka. Keval Kumbhak means where breathing is suspended. There are Purak, breathing in, Rechak, breathing out. Breathing in and holding the air inside is Purak Kumbhak. Breathing out and holding the air outside is Rechak Kumbhak. In these efforts and individuality is required. And this is not bad, it is required for cleansing the body. Yagyavalkya uses the word, it is called as Nadi Shodhanam. So when you do this Anulom Vilom Pranayam for 10-20 times, then all the toxins are thrown out of the system properly. After that is done, then you drop that and then come to, this is called as Vikshana Pranayam. Simply remaining aware of breathing that is happening. So, 2 stages we go through. First is the pranayam which is done for cleansing the bloodstream, and the second wherein we simply remain aware of the breathing that is happening. And all this is done with the same psychological adjustment that we have seen yesterday. So, as you know, if you know Anulom Vilom, you do that way. If you do not know, then simply deep breathing. In the deep breathing, first breathe in the stomach, then breathe in the chest, then breathe out from the chest, and then breathe out from the stomach by squeezing the stomach, actually the diaphragm, inside upward. In this manner, do it for about 5-7 minutes, then you will feel freshened up, all the toxins will go away. And then we will do the second type of pranayam. Now 1 or 2 more important aspects about pranayam. One is, when you practice pranayam, you develop patience in life. One of the most important thing in life on the spiritual path is patience. You all must have heard the name of Shirdi Sai Baba. There are 2 words associated with him. Which are the 2 words? Shraddha and Saburi. The Saburi is patience. Those who do not have patience, they become patients. They want everything immediately. Have patience, have patience. See? And how the patience develops? When you are decided to breathe deep, you can't hurry up. Suppose, one example I will show you, just watch. When I do one, let us say, Anulom Vilom Pranayam, see how much time it takes. And if like that you do, let us say 20 times, 30 times, you can't speed it up. then it won't be Anulom Vilom Pranayam. So in that Anulom Vilom, first I'll breathe in with the left nostril, breathe out from the right nostril, breathe in from the right nostril, breathe out from the left nostril. This will be one pranayama. Like that 20 times. It will take at least 10 to 15 minutes. Just watch. This was one pranayama. So it becomes even less than one pranayama per minute. So if you have to do or decided to do for 20 times, for 20 minutes, you have to have patience. Therefore, this pranayama helps us in developing patience in life. Most of us suffer because of too much of hurry about everything. Have patience. Things happen. You don't have patience. And as a result, those who do not have patience, they come out with a comment without thinking. They watch something and give comment, give opinion. Not necessary. Because there is no patience. A person who has patience, he will think twice before talking. A person who doesn't have patience, he will blast out immediately, whether it is required or not required. And then he or she suffers. I should not have said this thing. Why this happens? No patience. See, friends, this is one impact of this pranayama. And second impact is, we get settled on our asana. For 20 minutes when you are doing it properly, slowly your whole body gets settled on the asana. And with this, after having done it for some time, and thereafter we do the Vikshan Pranayama. So this is one way. Now the second way is, if you do not know Anulom Vilom, it is some problem for you, then simple way, sit down quietly and only deep breathing. First of all, breathe out. For that, squeeze your stomach inside upward and then slowly breathe in, controlling the speed of breathing in. So first of all, fill in your belly and then the chest. And then breathe out from the chest first and the belly later by squeezing the stomach inside upward. In this you don't have to do Anulom Vilom. Result is the same. And then the Vikshan Pranayam. So now you can start. Like yesterday we said, sit properly. Let the weight of your body land on the sitting bones. Let your both fingers, both hands be interlocked, lower three fingers, index to index, thumb to thumb. Put it in your lap. Now psychological adjustments. You are cheerful and happy. You are not here under compulsion. We are not here to achieve anything. We are not going to get anything. On the contrary, we will give up, lose all wrong notions that we are creating havoc in our life. In our heart is our beloved Lord and the Guru Maharaj, who protects us and guides us from within. There is no need to fear about anything. Many seekers have this fear element in them. At this moment, we are Mr. Nobody. So all the relations and possessions of our life which belong to the past are dropped. We have no past. Don't bring any memory, good or bad, in the present. We are now like a newborn baby. We will not plan what we will do after a meditation. Thereby, the future is blocked. Now, in the present, we get 100% involved. So now we are in the present, breathing is also happening in the present. So, in this deep breathing, we will strengthen our remaining in the present. Now, as I told you, do deep breathing for some time till I give you the next instruction. Start at your own pace. normally. You can observe that your asana has become firm at the base. Vertically it is steady, and the weight of the body has increased, which can be felt on the sitting bones. So the process of mind giving up the shape and the form of the body has started. Now, second observation, the breathing is extremely slow and shallow. Like we did yesterday, walk out of your body and the body is breathing. We simply remain aware of the breathing. Do not participate in the act of breathing. And we do this bhavana, gaganopamoham. I am like the space. Space is without beginning, modification and end. The space is without shape and form. The space is without any change. Mind can survive only if it holds on to the shape of the body. To remove that, we do this bhavana that I, the mind, is like space. And it is so true. We have supported the child body. We are the same. We supported the teenage body. We are the same. We supported the middle-aged body. We are the same. Like the space. Therefore, do not give any importance or value to whatever may be happening inside the body. Anyway, you are other than the body. So the breathing is happening. You are not doing anything. Initial efforts in meditation are a process of undoing and unbecoming. Ultimately, it is attainment of being and not becoming. At this stage, make a firm resolution that you are not going to talk to yourself. When we talk to ourselves, it is the functioning of the mind. When we don't talk to ourselves, mind has merged in consciousness.
the more we live in awareness, talking to oneself is reduced to that extent. The moment you become aware of the chattering of your mind, the mind stops. It is only in the absence of awareness that the mind chatters. Therefore, when we are extremely aware, the mind chattering will stop. This won't happen overnight. It is a chronic disorder. It will take time. Therefore, have patience. Like we have developed the addictions and habits about things and reactions in the world, such as smoking, tea, drinking, drugs, unwanted comments. In the same manner, we have developed this addiction and habit of talking to oneself. So the more we remain aware, this habit will slowly die away. Take deep breath 2-3 times, very slow. And observe how the body is included in the mind. Move your toes and fingers. Now the concept that I am inside the body and the world is outside has become real. And our samsara begins. Offer everything at the feet of the Lord. Don't make any memories of this. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.